Hey, so now we will be doing a delete request with an undo action. So we'll be deleting a post and display a undo button. When the user click it, the post will be created again. So first thing, before we actually do the undo, we need to do the delete, but let me increase the brightness. I can't see anything. Okay. So first thing, let's start our React app and npm run dev and npm run start. And for Pollux, let's actually run npm run dev. So this is our current state. So and we can actually create a post here. Yeah. So the idea here now, if we click the delete, we will delete this post. So let's start to implement that by going to the post itself here. So you can see there is the delete button. So to start, we'll be using the mutation itself again, the useMutation hook. So useMutation, and yeah, I'm just looking at the code on a different screen. So we need to have here a function that returns a promise. I'm gonna use, like always, the fetch API, and I need the URL. So I'm gonna do this. From the app, then constants, the API URL. So this is gonna be like this. So API URL, then posts, then the ID of the post, and in our posts we are actually adding this to the props. So let's destruct that. Let's put it here. Now to change the method, by default it's get. To change it to post, or to delete, sorry, we'll do this. So this will be it. Now let's destruct the mutate async and is loading. What I'm gonna do is I will put here on a click. This will be, I will run the mutate async and is loading. I'm gonna put it here. So is loading be equal to is loading, and also the edit. So let's see what this will give us. Let me open the inspect and go to the network tab. So let me click on the delete. As you can see, we will see this request being filed, and we have the loading spinners. And as you can see, it's a delete request. JSON server API does not return anything when you delete a resource. So let's try to delete it again, because as you can see, it's still in the UI. We will get a 404 because this actually is not in the database anymore, and you can actually see the difference. So this here object got actually deleted from the database. So yeah, now to actually do some UI stuff, some useful things. First thing, if this got deleted, we should actually remove it from the UI. So to do this, we need to go to our app header, and as you can see, each time, or sorry, we need to come here and somehow re-invoke this fetch to get the data again, right? And to do this, we need to actually add another key here. So I'm gonna call it refetch, and I will put it also in the context so we can change it from anywhere. So let's go to the context and add this key to be called refetch. The value does not matter, but we need just to toggle it each time. So each time it will change, this query will run again. And let's go to the posts themselves here, and let's go import from add context the use posts, or the posts context, sorry, and from React import the use context. And let's get from here the posts context and set posts context. So each time each time we finished deleting something on the API, we will update the context to trigger this API request again. This is why I used mutate async. So I'll do the following. So mutate async, and when this finishes, I will do the following. Set post context. I will preserve the original context, and I'm gonna update the refetch. So you just need to toggle it. So refetch will be equal to post context dot refetch and toggle that. Now when this actually toggles, the query will be sent again with the same stuff. I mean, like the page itself won't be different, right? So we will refetch the same original query. So let's start from the beginning. So let's go to the network tab, hit delete. So we are deleting this one. Now when it finishes, as you can see, we will fetch the data again with the same page number. But the issue is the data got duplicated. And this is because if you go to our app header, you will see that we are monitoring the is fetching and is loading. And we are concatenating the previous data with the current data. Here, sorry. We are monitoring the data and the set post context. And if the data changes, we will concatenate the previous data with the current data. And I believe in the previous video, this was like this, right? So we need the previous. And to actually solve this, we can just do this for now. So data will be equal to the data that we have in the context. And let's do it again. So this is the first post. Let me display the ID so we can know. Let's go to the post. I will do it here. So I will just search for it. We have these 10 posts. I will delete this one. Now we are fetching the posts. And as you can see, this one got actually removed. But by doing this, we actually, let's go to the next page. I will show it to you. It's better than me talking. Yeah, we actually we lost the idea that we can fetch data on scroll because we are not concatenating the previous data with the current data, which is something bad. So the way that I thought we could fix something like this is to mark this component on the front end as deleted and also deleted in the backend. And we will show like a border of red and disable these two buttons, which means it's deleted. And we will display another button called, hey, undo this delete if you want. I think this fits more in the current context that we are in. So let's try to do that. So first thing, I'm gonna remove this. And in the app header, I'm gonna remove monitoring this variable. In the post context, I'm also gonna remove this. So in each post, I'm gonna monitor if it's deleted or not. I'm gonna use state. So by default, it will not be deleted. So is deleted. And now set is deleted. And we don't need this anymore. Let me remove all of that. So, and I'm gonna disable the buttons if any one of them actually is deleted. So is loading, or sorry, disabled will be equal to is deleted. So by default, it's false. And when this actually is done, I'm gonna say set is deleted to true. And if is deleted is true, we need to show another button here. So I'm gonna do this. So if is deleted, let's say I will put like a button here, else empty string, but there is a shortcut for this, this is that we usually do. This is something that we usually do, right? So there's a shortcut if you add two ands here and remove this. But something to remember, this always should be a Boolean. don't rely on the false and the truthy values in JavaScript. Always convert this to a Boolean. But since it's now a Boolean, I'll just keep it like this. And I'll have an undo button. I'll give it a margin of 1. What did I also give it? Yeah, PG color of this color. So I think 500, right? 600. So let's actually go and see this thing. So delete. It's now deleted, and we have this undo button. I think we need also to have these two disabled while deleting. So disabled would be is deleted or is loading. And this is also here. And we need to actually change this box shadow to red. So what I'm gonna do is just to add an if statement. So const color will be equal to the is deleted. If that is true, I'm gonna use the colors, then red, then 500. Else, I'm gonna use the original color we use, this one. So this, yeah, as you can see, these two are deleted. We can delete this one as well, and now it's deleted. But to create the undo functionality, what I'm gonna do is the following. First thing, I will remove the ID, and I need to actually create the post again. So this is our current API behavior. The API will actually delete the post itself from the backend. You can think about this as a database, and it actually got deleted. So the undo button will actually create it again. In a realistic API, you might have like a flag in each post called deleted, and if that's deleted, the API won't actually return it. And this undo button will actually just flip that switch. So you will have something called soft delete. But in this current context, we are actually deleting the post. So I will create it again, and that will cause an issue, a small issue, which is the ID will be different in our case. But if you have soft delete and just a flag that marks a specific document or row in your database is deleted or not, you'll just flip that switch and that's it. So yeah, to do this, as you can see, I have the posts data, but my actual thing that actually adds the post is in the post adder. It's this logic here. So there is something really nice in React, which is custom hooks. It allows you to share stateful and reactful logic, even Redux logic. So let me show you how we can actually do this. So I'm gonna create @hooks, and here I'm gonna say index.javascript. I'm gonna do the same thing that I usually do. Now use create post. This will be our shared hook that we use everywhere to create post, which is very nice. I'm gonna create an index.js for exporting everything from here, and I'll file the same name. Let me look at the previous code. So I'm gonna import these things, the useMutation, the useToast, and the API URL, and I'm gonna create a variable called useCreatePosts. You don't need to call them with use, but that's just a convention that I follow. So they will accept, or this hook will accept the data that we want to create, and I'm gonna get just the same exact logic that we have in the post adder. So everything from here, I'll just cut it, put it here. And what I will do, I will define a variable called mutation, and I will return it. So I'm exposing the returned value from the useMutation hook and return it again to anyone using this hook. And we need to, of course, update the state with the data. And we need to, as you can see, I'm also displaying the toasts from here, and this will work. So toast will be equal to useToast. And let's go and export this. So export from the useCreatePosts default as useCreatePosts. And here I'm going to export everything. Okay. Yeah, everything is fine. So let's come here to the post adder. We need to make sure that this actually still works. You can remove the toast and use toast, remove it, and use mutation. So const, I'm gonna destruct a bunch of stuff from the use create posts, but first we need to import it. So we are using JS config, so we can actually use relative paths or absolute paths. So at hooks, use create posts. So this will accept the data, or the data that we want to create, right? So I would give it the state, and each time the state changes, this function will be called again. That's why if you go to the code, we can do the following. So I'm passing the data, and this data will be injected here. So we can actually do this because this will actually keep like updating each time we actually update the state. I mean, if you think about it, at the end, this is still a function. Each time the component will re-render, this will be defined again with the new value of the data. So yeah, I think you can think about it like this. It's much better. So the thing is, I think I forgot to export this. So export default the use create posts. You don't need to export this as the default export. Do whatever you want. This is my way. So I'm gonna get the same thing that we actually were getting. It's just the mutate, I believe. Do you have another thing? The loading? No. So that's it. So let's just test if the post adder still works. I'm gonna go to the inspect, click open, add anything, hit save. So it's now pending, create it, and let's go to our database. So db.json. It should be at the end here. Is that it? Is that it? Yes. I'm gonna put my name just to make sure. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, this still works. So what we need to do is to get this and put it inside the posts or the post.js. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call this use create posts, and I'm gonna give it the data. So my data will be the body, the image that we have, the archived, the full name, and I'm gonna destruct like the mutate async and is loading. But as you can see, we already have these here, so this will actually cause an issue. So we can rename the values that have been destruct by adding a colon. So I'm gonna call this. Let me just look at the code. So when you look at it, you will actually feel it's the same code or similar. I'm gonna call this create posts async, and this one is loading. I'm gonna call it is creating post loading, and I will call this actually when we are. So I only click. I will call this here, and is loading here is post creating loading. I'm gonna put it here. So is loading will be this, and disabled will be equal to this. So let's actually see what will happen now. I'm gonna delete this post. Oh, sorry, I need to refresh. I'm gonna delete this post. It's now pending. It got deleted, and these two buttons are disabled, and we have this one. So let's actually undo the delete. But remember, in a real world application, this undo will actually just switch a flag on this specific document. And each time you actually return the posts, you won't actually return the posts that have been marked as deleted. So you won't actually delete the data. But in my case, my API actually deleting the data. So my undo will create another post with the same specific data. So let me click undo. As you can see, this is the body. It's the same thing here. So it's now got created, and this is the returned value. But another issue is, in my case, the ID is not the same. So when I click delete again, I should fix this in a moment. It's now disabled. This will actually throw an error. So let's actually see that. So when we finish the create post async, so and then I'm gonna say set post or set is deleted to false. And this actually refresh. So first thing, let's delete this post. Now undo. It's now being created. It's got created, everything returned as usual. But if I try to delete again, I am referencing an ID that is not, or it's now not, it does not exist in the database. So I need somehow to update the ID in this post here. I'm gonna use the useState function again. So I'm gonna start by the ID, and this will be post ID, and this will be set post ID. I'm gonna use the post ID here, and I think that's the only place. And another place is, or another thing is the set post ID. So each time we actually create a post, we need to get the value returned and update it, or update this ID with the new ID. Okay. So I'm gonna do this set post ID, but we need to get the ID. To get this actually, or the promise that results from the create post async, will return the returned value from the mutation function. And this actually points, if you go to our hook, so the returned value from this function will be actually passed to the resolved value from this promise. So, and then here we can actually get the post. But something that I forgot, we need to actually convert this into a JSON because we are using the fetch API. So now the returned value from this promise, which is the JSON data representing, or the JSON data returned from the API, will be actually returned, and it's available here. So this will be actually post, and I will destruct from it. And this, to be precise, this will be this returned value from this create, from this post request. I'm gonna destruct this ID, and I'm gonna put it as the new ID. So let's refresh, start from the beginning. So let's delete this post. It's now deleting, got deleted. Now let's undo that. We are creating a new post, same data, but different ID. Now when I click on delete, we should see a different ID, as you can see. So this is a different ID. So let's now undo again. Delete, this is a different one. So could not be, I don't think this is very much realistic, but I think it gives you a good example on how you can manage these stuff and how React Query actually simplifies your life. I think that's very much interesting. But yeah, the thing is, yeah, let's just recap. So when you actually delete something on the DOM, you have multiple options. One of them is just, you can just delete it and just forget about it. Another thing, you can actually rerun the query that you already ran to get this data, and we actually did that, but maybe really quickly we did it. I hope that was clear. We just went to the context, the posts context. We added a flag called refetch. Each time this changes, we will go to the app header and put it as the query keys, or alongside the query keys. So each time the value there changes, the query will run again. But this will not work very well in our case, because we are actually concatenating the previous data with the current data because we have infinite scroll. But I think, or yeah, just to solve this, I actually introduced this undo button, which will give us what we wanted. But yeah, you have multiple options. One is just to remove it from the DOM. Two is to refetch or redo the original query that you did. And this is a very common thing. I see a lot of people do it. And the third one is maybe to mark it in the DOM as, hey, this one is deleted. Maybe after that, when the user refreshes, it won't be actually exist because the API did not actually return it. And if you are doing that, you have a good opportunity to show this undo button, so you can undo that action, or maybe just show a toast to undo it. But yeah, that's basically it. I thought about if I just show you how we can actually delete a post by doing this query. I thought that would be very simple, so I thought I would add some extra stuff. So yeah, because if you understood how to create a post, you can easily get the delete request. It's really not that hard. So that's why I thought I would add everything that I just did. Yeah, I think that's it. I hope this was useful, and bye.